Thank you for tuning in to the Northeast region's headquarters for hunting-related stories and tactics, sourced from DIY hunters and industry insiders. This is Hunting the Empire. Now here's your host, Joe Mainville.
Hey everybody, how we doing? Joe here. Another episode of the Hunting the Empire podcast. Appreciate y'all tuning in. You guys are getting this on a Tuesday. I'm recording over the weekend. Had a bunch going on this weekend. It's been super busy with family around the house. I've been trying to get some practice in as much as I can. This time of year, I try to shoot the bow almost every day. Just up my poundage over the weekend. I shoot all off season at about 63, 64 pounds, but then I crank it up to 71, 72 once I get closer to the season. So I finally cranked up the bow this weekend and shot yesterday at a heavier poundage, and obviously arrows moving faster now, so I had to readjust my sight a little bit, and my shoulders feeling a little extra stress, but I want to try to get every little piece of the speed and kinetic energy out of the bow as I can. So obviously I'm still shooting it comfortable. It's still a comfortable draw weight, even that much. But so I hope everybody else is out there practicing as well and not pulling the bow out the day before bow season. See, my Instagram's blowing up with people out west with mule deer and elk. So if you're one of the guys and gals out there adventuring for that stuff, good luck to you. Be safe. I hope everything's going well out there. But got a pretty good episode here today, I think, for you. Talking with Jason Mears, a bow hunter from Pennsylvania. He's an engineer by trade, but he's also a Sitka brand ambassador and used to own a scent company. So we touch on that quite a bit, and I think you're really going to enjoy this. It was very cool talking with Jason. I appreciate him coming on and taking time out of his schedule. Without further ado, here we go. Hey everybody, thanks again for joining the Hunting the Empire podcast. On the line today, I've got Jason Mears. Jason, it's great to have you on, and I appreciate you coming on the show. If you could start off by just kind of going over what you do for a living and kind of what do you do for fun?
Hey Joe, thanks. I appreciate you having me on. What I do for a living, I'm actually an engineer for a company that builds nuclear power plants, believe it or not. My hobbies are pretty much hunting and fishing. I love doing anything outdoors, spending time with my family, especially my 3-year-old son. I've been fortunate enough to being able to be hunting for about 25 years, so it's a big part of my life, and it's something that I really enjoy. So that's a little bit about me.
So I got to ask, how'd you get into nuclear power plants?
It's just one of those things. I went to school for engineering and just happened to stumble in a job in that field, in that industry, and that's I've been doing that for about 10 years now. So it's a challenge, I can tell you that. It's interesting. You learn some pretty unique things that you really don't see in a lot of other industries. So definitely neat. Aside from the nuclear thing, I owned a deer scent company for roughly 8 years, I think. So have a little bit of experience, doing the small business thing. So
yeah, we're definitely going to touch on the deer scent company for your current job with the engineering. How does that work out? Do you get pretty flexible around deer season with time, or are you pretty well like how's that work out for you?
Yeah, I do. One thing that's great is we have something called flex time where I can be in the office at a certain time, and as long as I put my 8 hours in, I'm pretty much good. So I think this past November, last season in November, I think I hunted like 26 days out of the 30 in November. So
Oh wow.
pretty fortunate that my job's flexible with that, and as long as I'm putting the time in, they're okay with it. So and always I got to make sure my priorities are always my family. So between work and hunting and my family, I make sure I'm there for everything.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it's awesome that you got that flexibility there.
Yeah, needless to say, I'm pretty tired come end of the rut.
Yeah, I bet. I'm usually tired after the first 3 or 4 days. So, how long have you said that you've been hunting?
I've been hunting about 25 years.
Okay.
I started out when I was 12. But prior to that, my dad actually used to take me when I was 5 or 6, squirrel hunting and things like that. And I think that's kind of what, really got me hooked on it. Back then in the early 90s, kind of dated myself there, but back then, there was no menor youth hunting or anything like that. So he would just kind of take me along, just kind of to participate in the hunt. I wasn't actually hunting, but,
Yeah.
I was witnessing everything that was going on. And then got into shooting a bow. And I think my first hunt was I was 12. It was down here in Somerset County, PA, and I stepped into the woods with a recurve, believe it or not. And bow hunting's really been my passion ever since. It's the one thing that I enjoy doing hunting wise more than anything.
Oh, that's cool. For the listeners, if where do you, I guess, where are you located in Pennsylvania? I guess, you don't have to give a town or anything, but just so folks have kind of an idea of a general area.
Yeah, I'm about 35, 40 miles southeast of Pittsburgh.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's amazing. Number of people that I talk to, especially I've talked to a number of guys from PA. Um, it seems, as kind of the hunting community is, it's kind of tight knit. I was just talking to another guy earlier, and he actually, talks on Instagram with a guy who lives in my hometown that I just started talking with a couple of days ago, and then I talk with a guy who I've known for a number of years, who actually lives like 15 minutes from him that he didn't know about. So it's kind of,
Wow.
it's interesting the hunting community like that.
It is, that's one thing about social media, good and bad aside, hopefully that's one thing that can help, unite all of us hunters and help us communicate to one another and, socialize and learn from one another. So,
Yeah, no, I think it's awesome. We can all get connected and meet people with a similar mindset.
right.
So, do you hunt primarily public or private? What's your setup look like?
Most of the land I hunt is private land, and I don't know, I own a little bit of land, but not a lot, but most of the properties I hunt are private, and I obtain those by, basically door knocking,
Okay.
doing my homework, looking at maps, looking at tax maps, and then, basically knocking on people's doors. And
Can you
I
mind?
can.
I don't want to interrupt you. Can you? I know this is like a big thing right now that I've heard from a number of different people that's on their minds, and a lot of people just don't know how to go about one, like finding places maybe that they should try knocking on doors, or really just how to go about doing it. Is that something you mind kind of unpacking just a little bit? And
Yeah.
like, what's your process on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's really not that hard. I mean, I use really two tools to track down the properties that I'm looking to get on. And one, I'm fortunate enough in the county I live here in Pennsylvania that we have an online tax website, that we can go on and basically view property lines and view landowners, how much acreage they have, and their information is listed. So it gives you an avenue to almost track them down, so to speak, where you can find their phone number or find their address and knock on their door. One of the other tools that I use is OnX Maps,
Okay.
OnX Hunt.
Yeah.
Basically does the same thing. It gives you the aerial view where you can click on a property and it'll tell you the landowner's name and address. And then at that point, I just try to do my homework, find some areas that I know, aren't hunted hard, or, have some good deer running around, and excuse me. And I'll just knock on the door. And I'll be honest, it has gotten a lot harder in the past several years, trying to obtain properties. Everybody's worried about getting sued. So,
Yeah.
Here in southwestern Pennsylvania, we have a lot of posted property that is almost impossible to get on sometimes. Um, so it has been a real challenge. My suggestion to people is just be as professional about it as you can. Be sincere. Those people they don't owe you anything. They're letting you hunt their property. So, respect their property, respect them, and respect their wishes. And the more professional you are about it, the better chances you have, in my personal opinion, of getting on that property. I actually have a friend who, and I haven't done this personally, but what he actually does, he creates almost like a large business card that has basically all of his information on it. Has a picture of his vehicle, everything you could think of about him on that card, and he pretty much presents that to the landowner. And a lot of times that landowner will see that and think, well, this person is responsible. This person is going to respect me, and he cares about what I think and wants to know that that I'm not doing anything wrong. So
Hmm.
anything like that you can do, that's going to help you in the long run.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I've never heard of anybody using that tactic before, and that's kind of cool to think about.
Yeah, it has actually worked really well for him
Hmm.
actually. So
Yeah, it's interesting. When you're looking, kind of going back to the beginning of that, when you're kind of going through those plat maps and you're going through on X app there, what's what are you looking for that kind of keys in on those areas to nail down those landowners that you want to talk to? I know like some people, they're looking for private ground around public ground to maybe gain different access to the public ground, or just kind of asking a bunch of different landowners in an area to kind of connect a bunch of private ground together that they might have access to. But what do you look for to kind of key in on those specific areas before you're knocking?
there's several things actually. I mean, I look at the size of the tract of the land, the size of it. I'm looking for feed, cornfields, soybean fields. We have a lot of that here in southwestern PA. So, the property that I might be trying to get on might not actually have that, but there might be an adjoining property that I can't get on that does, and I'm looking for a travel corridor or something to those fields. Um, areas where I've just from driving around or doing things that I've seen big bucks before in the past that I know, hey, this area seems to hold bigger bucks than some of these other areas over here. So I'm going to try to focus on this area. So I kind of pull like strings from all those different areas there and kind of focus on it. Um, to try to find an area where I think I might be successful. Now, I have gotten some properties in the past where, you know, I, I know there's big bucks running around there, but I've been on, this smaller chunk of property here, a smaller chunk there, and they just really never panned out. So I kind of let them go after a while. But you live and learn. It takes a couple seasons to learn those properties. So, but um, you're never going to know until you get on them and actually find out. So.
Yeah, no, that's pretty interesting. Um, yeah, I wanted to kind of break in here, and you had mentioned earlier that you had previously owned a deer scent company. Can you tell us a little bit about that? How did you, I guess, first and foremost, how did you get to own a deer scent company?
Yeah, it's a funny story. My best friend and I, back in, I think it was maybe 2007 or so, we were doing some staff work for a local scent company in the area. And that company at the time was really strictly probably selling in one or two counties here in southwestern PA. It was pretty small. And, the owner at the time had approached us about him selling the company. And I think maybe we were sitting around drinking a couple beers, watching a hockey game one night, and it was like, hey, why don't we buy it, and it was kind of one of those things. Well, never really sat there and thought that I would be selling deer scent, but it was really came down to you never know if you don't try. You know what I mean? And we didn't want to get into a scenario where 5 years down the road somebody bought it and was doing really well, and we'd be kicking ourselves in the butt because we didn't buy it. So, we worked we ended up buying it, I think, in 2008, and we had it till I think 2015, I believe. Um, so that's how it really came about. I can tell you that it was definitely a learning experience for two guys that didn't have any business experience. You get into something like that, you're younger, you think, oh man, we're going to be rich overnight, and this really is not the way that it plays out. You learn a lot of things the hard way. Um, but I can tell you that owning that company has not only benefited me um, on a personal level, and on my own job level, as far as confidence and things that I've learned about running a business. But I've got to meet some really great people in the industry over the years. So, we decided to sell after a certain period of time, but it was worth it.
Yeah, that's cool. Are you still associated with the company at all anymore, or?
Yeah, I help them out a little bit here and there, not much. One of the reasons that we sold was, just more time with family and things like that, and more time in the woods. When you own a hunting company, um, and hunting season is in, you're busy, and it cuts into your hunting big time.
Yeah.
There was many times that, we would get calls when we're in the tree stand, or, hey, from a dealer, hey, I need 2 dozen doe estrus right now. I'm completely out, and you can't get a hold of anybody to deliver it, so you basically got to leave the woods. So it was nice to kind of get back to, um, I guess I don't know if normalcy is the word, but that first year after we sold, to just go into the woods and not worry about anything other than actually hunting and taking a deer, was pretty awesome, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so that's probably a big relief there.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so I gotta ask. I'm probably the only weirdo out here who was wondering this the minute you said that you owned a deer company. Um, how do you collect the deer scents?
Well, we actually didn't own the deer. That we had an agreement with a farm, a local farm, and they actually collected our urine for us. And one
You
of
had
the
you
one of
had
the
the
reasons.
clean side of it.
What's that?
Said you had the clean side of it.
No, I wouldn't say that,
Oh,
because
okay.
the whole bottling process is really not the clean side. I can tell you there was many times that I've taken a shower in deer urine because a hose blew off and
Oh,
things like
jeez.
that. So, um, what they would do though is, they would basically herd their deer into a collection facility that had, stainless steel troughs and things like that, and then they would, collect the urine, vacuum it to get the air out of it so it lasted. One thing about scents is that air uh, kills the scent. Bacteria begins to grow and ruins the scent. So, um, they would do that, and then we would buy from them in bulk. And one of the reasons we went with those guys, there's a lot of people out there doing that, but they were very clean. They didn't have hair or feces or anything like that in their urine. So, um, we were very particular about that, and kind of felt that we had a superior product because of that.
What kind of what kind of scents did you I guess distribute?
We had curiosity scents, we had estrus, we had a scent that we called a territorial, which I can touch on in a little bit here. Um, we also offered a preorbital scent, and then we had, I think, four cover scents plus a scent eliminator.
Hmm, okay.
So we had a pretty good line of scent type products.
Yeah. Can you speak about, I don't use really any scents on public land. I just kind of go by um, everybody else is kind of using stuff out there. So
Mm,
I don't want to smell like anything. Um, but I know that there's a lot of people out there on public and private land who utilize either cover scents or attractants or stuff like that. Can you talk about different types of scents that are available and maybe how people would go about using them, or even maybe something that they might not that maybe something that's not commonly used that might be kind of a game changer for them?
yeah, absolutely. You know, uh, there's curiosity scents out there, and they're pretty cut and dry. They're a scent that you can use, all season long. That's basically going to bring in bucks and does, A lot of them have like a food-based attractant within them, so the deer are drawn to that sweetness or whatever else you might be putting in that urine. Um, those things are pretty cut and dry. You can use them all the time. Um, when it comes to buck sense, anybody that has talked to me about uh, buck urine knows that I am not a big believer of dominant buck urine. And the reason being is, dominant buck urine has been collected from a deer on a farm somewhere and that deer is probably 6, 7 years old, giant buck. Most of us, in Western PA here in New York, we're not hunting deer that old. The deer that we hunt never really get to see that age, very rarely. Um, so, deer have the ability to be able to sense the maturity of a deer based on its urine. They can tell. So if you put that dominant buck urine out in your area, the woodlot that you're hunting, and you have a nice 3.5-year-old come on, he's gonna catch wind of that scent, and he's gonna tuck his tail and he's gonna sneak out of there because he's gonna think that, hey, I'm gonna get my butt kicked because there's some giant buck in here. One of the things that I actually like to use is a young buck urine. And that was one of the products that we had when we had our company. It was a young buck urine, and we would add pheromones in it that actually piqued the aggressiveness of a whitetail. And what you're really trying to do is portray a picture. And when I say portray a picture is what I'm saying is you're trying to simulate an immature buck coming into the dominant buck in your area's territory. So that dominant buck in your area might only be a 3.5-year-old, but he's going to sense that there's some young punk on my block trying to get with my does. I'm going to go check him out, and I might just kick his butt too. So, based on experience that I've had with scents over the years, and I've had a ton of customers over the years kill bucks on this product. And if you think about it, that's what's really going on in the woods that we're hunting. There's not some 6, 7-year-old buck out there running around, just peeing everywhere, and big bucks are coming to where he peed. And I'm not saying that dominant buck urine doesn't attract big bucks, because there's been a lot of guys over the years kill bucks with dominant buck urine. But in the real world, I think you're going to have a lot more success when you use a young buck urine versus a dominant buck urine.
Okay. Let me throw a couple of these at you, because while you were talking, I had a couple of thoughts that came in my mind that maybe there's other folks interested in too. In your experience, does it make a difference? Say you go out and get like a buck urine or a doe urine or something like that. Does it make a difference if you say purchase it from so say you're living in Pennsylvania. Does it make a difference if you purchase it from like company A, who is like produced and distributed somewhere in the Midwest, or company B, who's like produced and distributed somewhere in the Northeast? Do deer pick up on that? Is there anything to that, or I'm just
I would say somewhat.
okay?
And the reason I say that is, I've had this conversation many times too. Mammals are mammals. And what I'm getting at is, an example I always like to use is, say you went out to the bar one night and drank a bunch of beers and ate chicken wings, and I stayed home and I ate salad and drank water. Even though we're both human, the composition of our urine is going to be different. It's going to smell different. So what a whitetail's a mammal as well. Whatever they're eating, whatever they're drinking, affects the composition of their urine. So, and that's one of the things that the farm that we used when we had our deer, their deer were eating the same stuff as the deer that we were hunting. They were eating all natural food, and that was one of our selling points, 100% natural. They weren't fed a pelletized, feed that some of these farms are feeding their deer. So again, that kind of gave us a little bit of an extra advantage, because the urine composition, the smell of the urine was more realistic, more similar to what the deer out in the woods were actually used to seeing. I don't care what you put out there. A big 4.5, 5.5 year old buck, he knows, he can tell the difference. So, um,
Hmm.
back to your question, does it matter? In some ways, I think it does. I think not so much the area, but I think what the deer are fed and what they're eating is a bigger factor.
Okay. All right. That's interesting. Um, uh, what situations would you use different type of scents? Is there, and there is also there like different times of the season? I remember talking to one gentleman years ago who said that he started using um, like a doe urine pretty early, like early season. So I'm guessing sometime
Mm.
around, like early October, because he
Yeah.
wanted to basically mimic like the first doe coming into estrus. I don't know. He said he had luck with it. I've never really heard of a lot of people doing that. Um, what's your experience with that? When's the best time to start using some of these scents, and what's the best stuff to start using?
Yeah, on my personal experience, like a curiosity type scent, that's something I'm going to use early season or late season when the deer is still focused on food, building weight, things like that. Um, like I'm not a huge believer in doe estrus scent either. I'm a little different, a little backwards when it comes to that, but I don't think you can capture everything in a bottle of urine what's going on with that doe. Um, I'm not saying that I don't use it, but there's a lot more going on than just what's captured in that bottle of urine. Um, what I like to do, probably starting, third week of October when the bucks are starting to scrape, they're starting to get the itch a little bit. I'll start using that territorial young buck type scent that we talked about previously. Um, in scrapes, and I'll put that on scent wicks and things like that. And then when it comes rut time, what I like to do is I like to use that in conjunction with a doe estrus. And it comes back to painting that picture again. What I'm trying to portray is a young buck there with a hot doe. And I've shot several bucks over the years using that tactic. It's all about the illusion, all about fooling that buck, making him think that there's something going on. So, you know, that buck's going to be aggressive. He's going to think that young buck's there with a doe that he can, uh, get a chance at, and he might come in and just check it out. One of the other um, scents out there that people overlook or don't know a lot about is a preorbital gland scent. Um, there's a few companies out on the market now that offer that. Everybody makes mock scrapes, but one key element that they don't do is they don't add that preorbital gland scent. And that's a scent that you can actually use all year around as well. People don't realize that deer communicate all year around using their senses and their scents. And bucks do the same with their preorbital gland. They use that all year round. So, um, but I like to use that when the bucks are really starting to scrape. I'll make my mock scrape with my urine, and then I'll create a licking branch using that preorbital gland scent, and that seems to work well. It puts that little extra touch to your mock scrape.
Hmm, okay. What for folks who don't know, and I guess maybe I don't know, I have an idea. What is the preorbital gland?
That's a gland around the eye that the deer basically use to communicate back and forth with one another. Say, hey, I'm here, or I'm over here. They'll rub when they're making a scrape, they'll snap the licking branch off. They'll lick it, and they'll rub their preorbital gland, which is in the corner of their eye, on that branch.
Okay. What's your thoughts on tarsal glands?
It's not something that I've really had a lot of luck with over the years.
Okay.
Um, I know a lot of guys. I've shot bucks over the years. Hey, can I get your tarsal glands? Or sure, you can have them. But I have used them in the past. It, it's, but it's not a game changer for me. I think they do work in some cases, but with anything, whether it's calling, sense, or whatever, that animal needs to be in the right frame of mind for it to work.
If you could say, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there, and even, I mean, I've used scents in the past, but I don't generally anymore. If there were people out there, or even people like myself, who don't generally use scents or want to try to start getting into scents, where do you recommend they start? Like, what would be your go-to for anybody kind of just getting into the scent kind of world?
I would say two. One would be the preorbital scent because that's just something that you can use to make those mock scrapes and kind of catapult you into the rut, so to speak. The other would be the curiosity scent, and that being because you get the most range out of it, and it's going to attract bucks and does. If you're just looking to kill a deer, go for the curiosity scent. They work really well, especially early and late seasons. Like I said before, when those deer are kind of on their summertime patterns, trying to put on weight for winter, and they're really just focusing on food. They don't have any other distractions such as does, or, they're not used to a lot of hunters being in the woods yet. It's a great scent that works all the time. And, it I've been pretty successful with it over the years. And, yeah, I can honestly say that any food-based attractant in the wintertime is gonna be a good one to choose anytime.
Hmm, okay. Did you say, and maybe I wrote this down, but maybe I heard wrong. Did you have anything in your company with Coversense?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
Um,
You touched
we
on that,
offered
yeah, a little bit.
we offered a like an earth scent, an oak scent, pine, and a cedar scent. And one of the things that we uh, really stress upon was the 100% natural thing. We kind of applied that to our cover scents as well, and the reason being was, they were made from oils extracted right from an acorn or right from a pine tree. They weren't overwhelmingly strong. You don't want to stand out blatantly because you smell like a Christmas tree. You want to kind of blend back into your surroundings. So they were natural products, not, like I said, not super strong, but enough to help you blend into your environment.
Hmm, okay.
A
I,
lot of people use like a cover scent, like a fox scent, or some guys will use skunk or things like that. I wouldn't recommend that, and the reason I say that is because it makes you stand out from your environment. The name of the game is to hide, to blend into the environment. So I would try to use like an earth-based cover scent versus something like that.
okay. I would say, at least in my own experience, and I learned years ago from, I guess, my own just sheer stupidity or lack of experience years ago, is that when you're using a cover scent, make sure that you're using something that is in your area. So don't get like an apple or something cover scent when you don't have apples or anything around you.
Right. Right.
So.
Right. I will say though that I am a huge fan of using the an oak cover scent no matter where I'm at, acorns or not, because deer love to eat oaks, love to eat acorns. You know what I mean? Not oaks, but um, you know, it, I look at it as a cover scent, but in a way, it's almost like an attractant.
Hmm, that's interesting. Yeah, I've never, I don't have any experience with that, but that's
We have a
interesting.
lot of hardwoods here. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
sure you do in New York as well, but
absolutely.
a lot of mix of oaks, and some years we have better acorn crops than others. Um, sometimes I'm in an area where there just isn't a lot of oaks, but I still like to use that acorn scent, just in case it might get a doe that was a little hungry or something and wanted to come in and check it out. So
Hmm, yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm gonna have to look into those. To Because of your experience in this kind of, this area of the hunting industry, I just read an article yesterday or the day before that in New York State they're looking to ban um, like natural urine scents or stuff like that, like urine-based stuff, and basically it'd be okay to use, synthetic made attractants or urines or stuff like that. But and I think before we started recording, you had mentioned that there's something going on in Pennsylvania with that too. Um, what's your thoughts on that?
yeah, I'm kind of glad you brought that up. And they have been talking about that for several years here in PA with CWD encroaching in on everybody. Um, I can say that I've had multiple discussions with the Department of Agriculture and the farm that we would get our urine from. at the time. And the thing is, most of these large farms are accredited by the Department of Agriculture, and they're tested for CWD and other cervid type diseases that can be spread. Um, you know, they test for it. They say that there's no issues. Um, you know, when you look at the evidence that is out there for CWD being spread by urine, there is really not a lot of great hard evidence. Um, at the same time, I'm a deer hunter. My family has been deer hunters for generations. Um, you know, I hope that we can get this right, as an industry, and the people out there that are working on this can get it right. Um, but my personal opinion is, before you jump to conclusions and shut down these deer farms and put hundreds and thousands of people out of work and eliminate thousands of dollars of tax revenue every year, do your due diligence, do your homework, don't jump to conclusions. But if there is indeed any link to it, my personal opinion is that we do need to ban it. But there's other factors that need to come into play as well. Not just deer urines, but the baiting of deer. Some states allow that in hunting season, others don't. But a lot of people do it in the summertime when hunting season isn't in. You need to eliminate that because that congregates the deer into an area. So there's a lot of factors, a lot of things that I think need to be looked at. Um, you know, it really is a sticky situation. Um, you don't want to see the elimination of those tax dollars. You don't want to see people lose their jobs, but you also don't want to see the hunting industry vanish, particularly the focus on whitetail vanish because of CWD. So, like I said, I just hope that, we can get it right and everybody can do their due diligence on it and not jump to conclusions.
Yeah, and I didn't get. I've only read one article on it, and I'm definitely going to be going in and trying to keep a pulse on what's going on with this, especially now that it seems to be real, on the forefront right now, going into the hunting season here in New York. I don't know if their idea behind it was to basically try to combat CWD from the deer farm position, or whether it was, the use of that urine in a hunting situation too. Maybe
I,
it's a
th- I
little bit
think
of
the I
both.
think the concern is that that a bottle of urine could be collected from farm X and who knows where, and come into New York State through a shipment and then be distributed in your state, and then from that point on you now have CWD in your state because you squirted that bottle of urine on the ground. I think that's the big concern. There could be many options there. You just eliminate the transfer of urine between states, or things like that. But it seems like, from what I'm seeing here in PA, it seems like a lot of these problems are coming from these really small deer farms. They got deer escaping and things like that getting out into the wild. It seems like the much larger farms that have direct communication and inspections from the Department of Agriculture aren't really seeing as much of this problem as some of these smaller farms.
Hmm, interesting. Yeah, I know. I appreciate you spreading light on that, especially coming from your, all the experience and perspective that you have coming from kind of that piece of the industry.
Yeah, I just I want us to do the right thing. Not particular me, but the whole hunting community as a whole. I want the right thing to be done. I want my son and my son's kids to be able to hunt years from now and be able to enjoy whitetail hunting like I do. So if it means shutting down that particular industry to save it, I say do it. But let's do our homework first.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I hope, I'll in future episodes I'll touch back on this and try to update everybody through New York and Pennsylvania. Obviously the podcast is really aimed towards the Northeast, and we want to, educate everybody on this the best we can. So I'll keep a pulse on this and try to bring it to the forefront whenever new information is given out there.
Great.
So I wanted to touch on here, and I don't think we mentioned it in the beginning in your introduction, but I wanted to get into this piece before we had to break out here um, of Sitka and your involvement with the brand and kind of and what you do for them and everything there.
Yeah, it's something I've been doing for roughly 3 years now. Something I really enjoy. Got the opportunity a few years back, and what I really do for them is essentially help promote the brand. I work shows, promote the brand on social media. Try to help people with questions. Whether it's locally or online. I've had the opportunity to test some new products, which has been great. Provide feedback on existing gear and new gear. That's something I really enjoy. Helping them come out with a great product is pretty cool. But it's a great gig. It's a great product, a really great company, a lot of great people work there, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. Um, I wanted to see if you could, being, an ambassador for the brand. I wish I had spoken with you about 3 months ago because I had done a bunch of research and just finally made the leap and bought some Sitka pieces this year. Um,
Awesome.
so yeah, I kind of wish I was able to pick your brain on a little before, but maybe I can save other folks, hours in front of the computer trying to research some of this stuff. Um, what are your thoughts if there's people looking to get in Sitka? I guess one, why should they look at Sitka? I've got my own opinions on it, just as kind of a new person coming into the Sitka world. But obviously you're an ambassador and you have a whole lot of experience with their gear. So I guess why Sitka for one, and two, thinking about Sitka gear in the Northeast region, what would be like your go-to pieces if there were people looking to just try to set up a system for our climates? I guess we'll say bow hunting because that's what's going to be coming up now. What would you recommend that they get first and foremost as like a go-to Sitka pieces?
Yeah, sure, we can talk about that. The first thing, why Sitka? The number one question that I really get is that, well, actually, I get two questions. One, why Sitka? And two, why is it so expensive? Uh, so to answer the first question, um, why Sitka? And my answer to that is three things: comfort, technology, and warranty. Um, in my personal opinion, in my experience, I was wearing this gear before I was an ambassador for Sitka Gear, and you will not find hunting clothing that is more expensive, or not more expensive, excuse me, more comfortable than Sitka Gear. I think the first piece I bought was rain gear, and I was tired of having rain gear over the years. It just constantly leaked. So I bought some rain gear, and I wore it out in a couple rains, and I was like, hey, this didn't leak. So then I bought some early season gear, and it just blew everything I've ever owned out of the water. And I sold everything that I had and replaced it with Sitka gear. Um, the technology. Um, Everybody knows what Gore-Tex is. We offer Gore-Tex. Primal off insulation, which is a low bulk insulation. As a bow hunter, you don't want to be bulked up. As a hunter, period. Um, so that's a low bulk insulation that is going to keep you warm even when it's wet. Wind stopper, pretty self-explanatory. That's going to keep that wind from pulling that heat off the core of your body, because the minute your core gets cold, you're going to get cold. So we offer a lot of garments with wind stopper: pants, jackets, gloves, hats, things like that. We also have something called Polygene, which um, is basically a silver chloride treatment in the garment that eliminates bacteria growth from the human body. And that's going to help you in two ways. One, you don't have to wash your clothes as much, because that is going to keep that bacteria from growing in the garment and stinking it up. Two, it's going to help with some of that scent control when you're out in the stand, and that's important, as we all know. Whitetails live by their nose. So that's some of the technology that we offer in the garments. We also have a lifetime warranty, so that's huge. You have any zippers break or stitching give, they're going to take care of you. My personal opinion, best customer service department in the industry. I can talk about a story that one of our customer service guys told me years ago. They had a guy going to Alaska on a bear hunt, and he actually had an issue with his jacket, like the stitching blew out or something, and he was leaving in 3 days. Sitka actually drop shipped the jacket to the airport in Alaska for him so he can go on his bear hunt. There's not a lot of companies out there that are going to do that for their customers.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, I get on a couple of Sitka forums on Facebook, and there's constantly people from Sitka on there speaking about the products and just kind of taking a pulse of people's satisfaction on there and everything. So I thought that was pretty cool. I've never seen that from a company before.
Yeah, they're definitely great. On the other side of it, why is it so expensive? One of the things is I like to tell people you get what you pay for. You get all that technology, you get that design, that functionality, that comfort, you get that warranty. But if you think about all the clothing that you bought over the years, I've been hunting for 25 years. Think about all the clothing that I bought over the years that fell apart or wasn't comfortable, and I had to replace time after time. I could probably buy everything that Sitka makes.
Yeah, true.
So it is an investment, but it's going to last you, and I can guarantee that you won't find anything out there that is better.
Yeah. For for the Northeast region, what do you recommend for anybody trying to put a system together? Like what are your go-to pieces for this area?
Yeah, that's a tough question. I mean, you know how it is in the Northeast here. One minute
Mm.
it's 40 degrees, and later in the afternoon it's 80 degrees. Um, but there's several pieces that I would have in mind. The one system that I really recommend to everybody is the Strata system, and we offer those in a jacket, a vest, pants, gloves, and a beanie. And that basically it's a brushed base, so it's quiet. The inside is a microcheck backer, but it is essentially a windstopper shell. And that's going to allow you to, layer underneath. Sitka is really based on layering. Add or take off as you need. Um, so you can wear that, I would say, mid-October, clean through January if you need to, because you can layer underneath of it. In my personal opinion, the Strata system is the most versatile, because you get the most range out of it. You can almost hunt the entire season out of it.
Hmm, interesting. Okay.
So then we have, early season. That would definitely be a little warm for early season. So we have our Equinox pants and jacket, which are very lightweight, made to hunt, hot weather, 70s. And we have our core lightweight base layers, which you can wear underneath of that, and those are treated with the polygene to help eliminate that human odor. Those are great early season pieces. And then if you kind of jump to the late season, I would recommend the Fanatic jacket and bibs. And I like to tell people that that's kind of like the Cadillac of a bow hunter suit. It's really designed around a bow hunter. Um, Very tight fitting arms, so you don't get that bulk around your string. Primal off insulation, windstopper shell, quiet Berber outer face. Um, Great piece. I've hunted down to single digits in that. Um, Definitely something, especially where you're at up in New York, definitely something that you want to have in your arsenal there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I ended up as my kind of go-to starting system. I ended up purchasing the Equinox system. Um, I've so far I haven't had an opportunity to hunt with it other than people giving me weird looks because I've been practicing out in the backyard wearing all my camo. Um, but I'm really liking it so far. Um,
Those pants are extremely comfortable.
oh my goodness, they are. I really want to buy even the jacket is so comfortable. I really
Yeah.
want to buy another set just to wear out everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what I wear early season though, is those Equinox pants, and I wear a core lightweight hoodie, and then
Okay.
if it gets a little chilly, I'll throw that Equinox jacket on, and I mean that's going to get you into the first couple weeks of October.
Yeah, no, I mean, all of the Sitka pieces that I bought, and just a disclaimer here, I'm not paid by Sitka to say any of this unless they want to start, which I'd be totally cool with. But um, just my experience so far with the quality of the stuff, and yes, it was expensive, but so far, well worth every penny. I ended up getting the Sitka jacket and pants. I bought I guess kind of like the ball cap with the mesh back on it, and
Yeah,
it's a fitted. That thing is awesome. It's probably the best fitting hat I've ever had.
that's good to hear.
And then I would say, and obviously my experience is very limited, but if I had one garment that somebody wanted to purchase from Sitka that I think would just uh, blow their mind because it absolutely melted mine, is the Fanatic hoodie.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you there.
Holy smokes. I mean, the sheer, like the thought process and the engineering that went into the details in that thing is just hats off to Sitka for that. Cause I mean, things I would have never even thought of. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for people that don't know, the Fanatic hoodie has, it's basically, can be worn as an outer layer or a base layer, has a high loft gridded fleece backer on the back. But what's really cool about the Fanatic hoodie is it has built-in gloves and a face mask. Uh, it's for one, that's something that you don't have to lose or forget because they're built into the garment. But one of my favorite features is it is the hood and the face mask itself. I'm not a hood guy, but the Fanatic hoodie, the hood on it fits very tight. It turns with your head, and same with the face mask. It's not a bunch of material, you know, bagged up in front of your face. It fits very tight. It's real form fitting. Great piece. I think when they came out with it, I think they might have actually sold out of those that year. People love it.
Oh yeah. It's an amazing piece of gear. I mean, I was nodding my head here when you're talking about that hood because I'm not much of a hood guy, but the just the design of it and the way it kind of like when I wear the cap with it and then put the hood up,
Yep.
how it just fits around it like it was meant to. Um, it I don't know. Uh, hats
Sitka
off to
definitely
Sitka for that.
they put a lot of thought into not just the comfort but the function of the garments. Every specific piece has a purpose. It's just not a shirt, just not a pair of pants. There's a purpose for those pair of pants, when you should be wearing them, and what they do. So, and that's one of the things that I really like about the gear is it's above and beyond, and the thought process is there. I mean, how many times have we probably over the years sat in a tree stand and think, I could really use a pocket here, or I could use something like this. And it turns out Sitka has it.
Yeah. No, I was amazed when I was starting to do some research. Um, just simple things like that. I mean, a kind of a breast pocket for your grunt tube and a pocket for your range finder and just to keep everything like on you instead of having
Hmm.
to kind of drape it wherever. I mean, it was just I don't know. It was really cool. I know
Right.
my next Sitka piece that I'm now saving my pennies for is a tool bucket.
Yeah, it's a great pack. Definitely great. You can haul in your tree stands with it. Um, if you carry more stuff than you can fit in that pack whitetail hunting, then you're carrying way too much stuff.
Yeah, it seems like it. It looks phenomenal. I can't wait to get one. That'll probably be next season after Sitka starts paying me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, well, I think that's probably a good point to start wrapping this up. It's hard to believe that we've been talking here this long.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
It did go quick.
yeah, it always does. I feel like we could sit and everybody who enjoys this stuff as much as we all do could sit and talk about this for hours.
Absolutely.
So, well, I guess while I've still got you, if there's folks out there who want to learn more about you, what's the best places for them to go? I know your Instagram. If you're not following Jason on Instagram, please go do it. There's awesome content on his site. Your pictures are just badass, dude.
Thanks, Joe. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Where else can they find you? Or is that basically where you're at?
I'm on Instagram, jmears3650, and then you can find me on Facebook at Jason Mears.
Awesome. Yeah, no, definitely do. And Jason, I really appreciate you coming on the show. It's been awesome. And if you could just hang on the line for a few, I'll wrap this up.
All right. Thanks for having me on, Joe.
Yeah, thank you. Well, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed that. Again, special thanks out to Jason for taking time out of his schedule to come on the show and chat with me for a little while. Want to remind everybody, please go to wherever you get your podcasts, whether it be iTunes, Stitcher, CastBox, anywhere out there, Google Play. Please leave a review and hit subscribe. The only way I know how I'm doing is by the reviews that I get. So if you haven't done so, please go leave a review. 1 star or 5 stars. I've got broad shoulders. I can handle it. It's the only way I can get better is if I know what I'm doing right and what I'm doing wrong. But working hard for everybody, deliver you a bunch of good content. I still have a lot of good episodes coming up next. There's quite a few people that I'm going to be interviewing who are out west right now, taking trips from the East Coast to West Coast. So once they all get back, we'll arrange it in the schedule to have them all on that offer a wide range of information they're going to bring with them. So I'm super excited about that. And you can check out the new website at huntingtheempire.com or huntingtheempirepodcast.com. Look me up on Instagram. You can look me up on Facebook, pretty much any social media. I don't do much on Twitter, but everything else, hunt me down on. Give a follow. Recommend some content if there's something you want to hear about, or if you got somebody that you think I should, talk to that might be interesting. Again, trying to keep the focus pretty much here on the Northeast region. I've been talking to people even down as far as kind of the Carolinas, but I guess kind of the Appalachians north is about the same, same terrain, same features, at least in, that's the cool thing about the Northeast. There's just so much going on with the different territories that you can hunt. So if there's anybody you want to talk, want me to talk to, or if, even yourself, shoot me a message. You can get me on email too, huntingtheempire@gmail.com. Again, I appreciate the support and people taking the time to listen to the podcast. And until next time, take care and God bless.